Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And some cards using the newest Waffle Flower release. Their May 2025 release just went live. I will have a link to the release in the description box below the video. So many good things. This one is a sewing, quilting themed release. There is a new Postage Collage little collection in there. And for those that might not be aware, I do have an entire playlist of my Postage Collage videos that will be posted in the end screen at the very end of the video, so you can check it out. So there's that, but then there's a lot of other dies, stencils, stamps, etc. that are more just sewing and quilting themed, and they kind of mix and match, and it's good. It's so good. Every month, Waffle Flower just continues to kind of blow my mind with what they've come up with, and this release is just no exception. So, I'm going to make some cards. As always, I will have links to all of the things I used in the description box below the video as well. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That is what helps keep the lights on, pays the bills, etc. And yeah, let's get into making the cards. So, like I said, and of course, I am focusing on the Postage Collage So Fun stencil set. Playlist to all the other videos I've done using, many of the Postage Collage stencil sets. I don't even know how many we're up to now. There's a lot. There's a lot to choose from. So many themes and all the things. This one is it 5 stencils altogether? Honestly, y'all, I don't even remember now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there's 5 stencils. They're all labeled, and you can't really see it on screen, but in true Waffle Flower fashion, the stencils have like all the etch lines as well. They're labeled, 1 to 5. They also do give color recommendations. So at the bare minimum, even just for like your first go, I've talked about this in other videos. When you're using something for the first time and it's like a layering set of some sort, do what they suggest. At least just as a practice, it helps to kind of see. It's like, okay, this is how it all comes together, whatever. I didn't do that. I went with my own color combos, but you can just follow the color suggestions and it just works. The other thing I have been asked is like die cutting first or stencil then die cut. As you can see, I pretty much always die cut first. I use the OG original Postage Collage wafer die. I die cut white cardstock, and then I have 2 pieces stuck to my grit mat because why not do more than one while it's all right here? And then you could, though, do all the stenciling first. There is an etch line on the stencils that is A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So you could just put a panel of that down and then just line up the stencils with that, and everything will fit. And then die cut afterwards if you want, or skip die cutting with this. You could use the blocks, one of the blocks, the A2 blocks wafer die, or I guess cut it apart with a paper trimmer. But again, it just works. It just works. So I picked out a color combo, which sometimes it just works, like because I get asked that too, like how do you choose colors? A lot of times I'll use like the different color inspiration, the blocks and all the different things. And then other times I'm literally just standing and staring at all my ink pads, of which I have a lot, and just grab colors at random. And that's what I did this time. And it just worked. Thankfully, it just worked. These colors came together really nicely. So I used all Concord and 9th colors today. And I'll have them all listed in the supplies. But basically it was, for my grays, I used Dove and Mushroom. The pinks are Carnation and Briar Rose. The kind of aqua-ish teal sort of colors are Eucalyptus and Rainforest. I used Avocado for my green. And then for my browns, I used Wheat and Nutmeg. And for all of my blending, I'm using the Waffle Flower Shader 1 Plus brushes. Love. I love so much that I bought a second set. So I have one of the sets I use for lighter shades and one for darker. They do have a double-ended version as well. I actually have those too. I don't use those as much, more so because I put them in an inconvenient place. You know, it's all about laziness with me. So whatever. Anyway, I use those brushes and I just worked my way through all the stencils. Regardless of what specific brushes you're using, like I obviously I jump around with many different brands because I do this as a job. You do not need, 20 sets of brushes. But the thing I do love is just having a small set, whether it's these ones or a different brand, whatever. Such a big game changer because back in the day all we had really was the normal size brushes, like the large ones. You could not do all this sort of stenciling with that without having to mask off a bunch of areas, and I'm too lazy. Let's be honest. So small brushes for the win. So anyway, I went through, did all my stenciling. Adorable. The one thing with this set is the little cat face is part of the stamp set. The little Postage Collage So Fun, so it's the mini set. Worth it, in my opinion, because it coordinates perfectly, not just the cat face, but there's sentiments and, little elements that I use for this. So the little cat face, I just stamped with the mushroom ink, the dark gray, and look how cute he is. Love it. So then I pulled out one of the OG Postage Collage stencil sets. I forget what this one is called. I have it in a pile here, but I honestly don't even think I have it labeled. I think it's called Color Blocks, possibly. It's the original one anyway. And I used this, just the main one that has just the open blocks. And I took the Shader 3 Plus brushes. These are the ones that are more narrow. And kind of dragged the color on these blocks all around the perimeters just to add sort of color to the background of these pieces, just to give them that little extra something. And I was using all just the same inks I was doing all the other blending with, and also obviously not doing a very good job of my blending, but not too worried about it. Because one, these inks do smooth out like the other inks I use. They do smooth out and soften as they dry, but also, of course, I'm going to be stamping and splattering and doing all the things, so I ain't too worried about it. So I worked my way around and blended the backgrounds on all of these pieces. And then I took the OG Postage Collage stamp set, the original one that has all the denominations in it. And I used those to stamp onto all of these with that mushroom ink. Decided to just keep everything consistent. And then with the top panel, I am going to stamp the cancellation marks and little accessory pieces from the new Postage Collage So Fun set onto that one. And I've talked about this before in the Postage Collage videos. I don't know why. I really like stamping all the little cancellation marks, and it's just, I think because it's just freeing. Like, I'm not trying to fit anything. I'm not worrying about whether or not they stamp perfectly, anything like that. I think that's also why I like it so much, is I can be messy with it because, cancellation marks aren't going to be perfect. So I only did that on the top panel. The second panel I'm going to cut apart for the other cards, and we'll get to that. So the top panel I kept together, just as is, stamped all the little cancellation marks. And then I took one of the new, there's several piercing dies that are A2 sized in this release. This first one I'm using is the Crosshatch Texture Die. So these do not die cut. All they do is pierce a pattern into the cardstock. I've talked about this a lot too. I love dies like this that just add texture, texture, pattern, things like that. So, and the cardstocks I'm using are all also from Concord and 9th in the same colors as the inks. So I used the avocado for the green. Here I'm using Carnation cardstock, and I'm stamping Sentiment. That was the other Postage Collage thing that's part of this release. Everything else is like standalone, but this is the Postage Collage Circle Sentiments. There's a little mini stamp set, and then there's a little Circle Sentiments matching die, and I'll use that to die cut the little sentiment. So I stamped that with the Briar Rose ink onto the Carnation cardstock, die cut it with the coordinating wafer die. And then the You're So Amazing sentiment is from the Postage Collage So Fun set that has all the little cancellation marks and the little cat face in it. And that I stamped onto Dove cardstock with the mushroom ink, and then die cut those. And then I pulled some baker's twine out of my stash and I wrapped it around the panel, used my reverse tweezers to hold the knot closed, and then fiddled until I got my bow the way I wanted it. Once I had it, I pulled it tight, removed the reverse tweezers, pulled it tight again, zhuzhed it a little bit more, trimmed off the excess, and then I'm going to adhere this to that panel that I had run through with the crosshatch texture wafer die. So you don't see much of that texture, just a bit, but it's still there and it's fabulous and I love it. So I adhered those into place. And then I'm going to stamp the inside of my card. So on the inside of the card, and my card base is an A2 white note card, so 5.5 by 4.25 inches. I'm stamping the other sentiment from the Postage Collage So Fun set, and I'm stamping that with the mushroom ink. And then I'm just going to stamp a couple more of the images from the So Fun set with the eucalyptus, and then the, was it Briar Rose I used? I think it was Briar Rose. No, Carnation ink. And then splatter, of course. So I put this into my spot box, and I've got my white gouache and my black gouache. I put the white gouache on my palette, and I put my black gouache on my palette, and I'm going to mix them together because I did not use any black on these cards. The darkest was that mushroom ink, just dark gray. So I'm going to mix these two together, just make a dark gray splatter. So take my fan brush, dipped it in water, so that this will also water it down to get it into a thinner consistency. And because I'm going to end up doing multiple cards, I'm not going to clean this off my palette. That is the thing you can do with gouache. I don't show this in videos because personally I just don't do it. You guys, I'm a hot mess. I am disorganized now and it is what it is. But with gouache, you can leave it on a palette. It doesn't have to be this palette. You can make your own palette with it. But you can leave it on a surface, let it dry, but you can, and then reactivate it later with water and reuse it. So you can use it up until you fully use it up. It always looks like I'm using a lot more than I really am. This time I did mix up a fair bit, and I'm just going to keep reusing it. So I set it aside and just let it dry on the palette, and I'll pull it out again later in this video. So after I did my splatter and let that dry, I then just adhered those little sentiments with some thin foam squares just to give them just a little bit of dimension, and then pop those into place and then set this card aside. Started working on the next one. So after I had this card assembled, the next one I'm using I've got everything piled up, the So Fun die set. You guys, I love it. And see, I have a sewing machine. I've used it in a few videos. I sew on cardstock. I should have done it for these cards, but trust me, again, I need more hours in the day, and I actually need to fiddle with my machine because I think that I've got the tension wrong on it. Anyway, this die set's fabulous. So you've got the base of the sewing machine, and then that decorative panel that I showed. When you die cut that, numbers also get pierced, and that's to line up the little, kind of little buttons and things, on the sewing machine, which you could die cut from like specialty cardstock. That would look really cute. I actually should have die cut those from gold. That would have looked fabulous. But I just die cut them from the same color of cardstock. I was using Eucalyptus and Rainforest for the sewing machine. And yeah, so the numbers pierce into this decorative layer to show exactly where those pieces are supposed to go. And then I showed the scrap cardstock I die cut the pieces from. The numbers also pierce just above them. So it just, again, everything's like thought out, lined up. Love. And then there's a little die for the little bobbin. And then this die for the thread. And I don't know why. I was like, this is the cutest thing ever. This just long piece of thread I cut from cardstock. I don't know, you guys. I loved it. So I adhered that into place. Like, look at that. Look how cute it is. And then my favorite part. That piece of fabric, the die cut for that, you can have so much fun with this. I'm going to stencil on it, but you could also run that little fabric die cut, like die cut it from like pattern paper. Oh, love. Or die cut it from cardstock and then run it through with one of the texture dies to pierce, the detail into it. Like, you could stamp sentiments on it. I don't know why I'm so excited about this. Like, again, I don't sew really. But I had so much fun with this release and like customizing things. Love. So this, I die cut the fabric from the Carnation cardstock. And then I just use this stripe pattern from that OG Postage Collage stencil set. Because you can see the blocks there. I use the blocks on to do the backgrounds on in the beginning there. So, and then for this, I just use that little pattern piece to make little striped fabric. Adorable. And then for the background for this card, I use the Meandering Texture Die. Love it. I was going to use that one on the pink fabric piece, but I used it for the background instead. And I ran that through with Dove cardstock. And then the second panel of Postage Collage that I had stenciled in the beginning, this is the one I'm going to cut apart. And I'll be able to use some on this card, and I'll be able to do a third card with these pieces. So trimmed everything apart, and then chose the little like postage stamps that I wanted to add to this card. Like, you guys, this was fun. And then for sentiments, this is the Quilted Hug set. Again, perfection, no notes, love it. The mix of fonts, love, and like the phrases, everything. So I took one of the sentiments and I'd stamped onto white cardstock with the Carnation ink. I ended up changing my mind for this card. There is coordinating wafer dies for all the sentiments as well. So I die cut it. And then off camera, I ended up instead, I white heat embossed the sentiment onto some of the mushroom cardstock. And then I adhered all my elements to the background panel. And then I just have a piece of the mushroom cardstock that I had die cut, as you can see there. I'm going to adhere this. This will make sense in a minute. It's more of like a placeholder, really. So I'm just popping everything into place with a mixture of either craft tacky glue and thin foam squares just to build a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to get all of these elements adhered into place first. Then I'm going to add some splatter. And that sentiment, what I mean by like placeholder is I did that, and then I'll adhere the actual like embossed sentiment after the splatter's in place. That way I just didn't have to mask the sentiment off. This little like safety pin wafer die, little die cut, adorable as well. That would look super cute die cut from like silver, matte silver cardstock. I kept everything. If you guys could have seen the disaster I had going on, like this, I had a stack of cardstock, a stack of ink pads, stamps, die sets. Like it looked like an earthquake had hit my desk. I had it all over the floor. It was fun. So that's why I didn't pull out the silver cardstock, but it would have looked cute. Anyway, the gouache, reactivated it with water. It had fully dried on the palette. I just wet my fan brush, swirled it around, got it all reactivated, and splattered. And then I'll set that palette aside, let it dry again while I work on the third card. And I'll be able to use it again for that one. So I added my splatter. And then for this card base, this is also another A2 card. This one's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. For this one on the inside, I am stenciling just the portion of the So Fun Postage Collage stencil, just the square that did the 2 bolts of cloth. And again, you can't really see it on camera, but what I meant by like the etching lines, even like all the actual bolts of cloth are all etched out on every single stencil. So it's super simple to line up. You know, I didn't have to have it stuck down, anything. I was just able to quickly line all the pieces up. I used all the same colors, used my brushes. I just went in with a little bit of a lighter hand when stenciling all of this because I don't want like solid, super vibrant, because my plan always on the insides of my cards is I'll write over this. I don't care, but it just gives it a little extra something. So I stenciled those 2 bolts of cloth onto the inside of the card. And then I took another sentiment from the Quilted Hug set. And I'm just going to ink that up and stamp that with the mushroom ink. Get that stamped into place. Just like so. After I removed, there was like some like fuzzy or whatever stuck to the sentiment, which I thankfully caught before I, stamped it down. So stamp that, adhere the card front to the card base, and then I can adhere the sentiment. Just like so. And then the little decorative scissors are from that die set. The So Fun die set. Those I did because my gold specialty matte cardstock, I don't even put that stuff away. That sits on my desk 24/7. So that was very easy to grab. So I die cut those from the gold just to give it a little extra something. So that was card number 2. And then for card number 3, I'm using it grew legs and ran off, literally. Where did it go? The Notions die set. this was another fun one. Like these scissors. I don't even know why. I was having so much fun. These scissors are adorable. And same thing. Die cut them from specialty cardstock. How fun. Like metallic cardstock. Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. I just die cut them from the Dove cardstock, and then the handles I die cut from Rainforest cardstock. And then there's a little wafer die with like little circles, little tiny circles, and they're the little screws for the scissors. And you can stack them together as I'm doing there to build a bit of dimension on the scissors. So I stacked 2 together and then adhered the blades together and then added 1 more. Look at the scissors. It's so cute. And then for the background on this one, I used the Clamshell Texture Wafer Die. Oh, again, just love it. And that I used on Carnation cardstock. And then these thread bobbins are also from the Notions die set. And then I'm going to adhere my postage collage as if the scissors are like snipping it apart. I got that idea from one of the samples that Waffle Flower posted. And as of doing this voiceover, I can't remember. Apologies, because I was inspired by them. Crap. I honestly can't remember. And I don't have my other computer in front of me so I can look it up. But yeah, it was inspired when I saw that sample. And I was like, that's so brilliant. How cute is this? So I was inspired by that. And then I adhered the remaining postage collage like stamps, and then the swirly thread pieces, those are also from the Notions die, so I die cut those from the same color as a cardstock and have them like coming out from the thread, as well as I'm going to like tuck them around the postage stamps as well. Love it. And then the sentiment is also from that same quilted hug set, and that one I white heat embossed onto the Briar Rose cardstock. And I did the same thing as the previous card. I just adhered 1 layer to the card front here as a placeholder, just so I've got everything kind of lined up where I want it to go. And I'm going to tuck in these little thread die cuts. Like seriously, look how cute that is. And then splatter. So same thing. Just added some water, reactivated that gouache, and then splattered this card as well. Let that dry. And then I'm able to adhere the sentiment into place. On that one, I'll show the inside of the card at the end. I just stamped that same sentiment from the inside, from the quilted hug set, and then added a little thread bobbin. And then as a final embellishment to all my cards, I just pulled out some of these candy dots from Waffle Flower. I've had these for years. I'm trying to make a point of using these things, you know? Like, they're pretty. I love, taking them out and petting them, but I need to use them, you know? So several of the colors from these packs kind of went with the colors I used. So, and they're peel and stick. So I just picked them up and pressed them into place, and they just add that final little something to all of these cards. And then once those are pressed into place, these cards are complete. I had a lot of fun making these. I hope you guys enjoyed. So my first one with the full, postage collage panel in all of its glory. And then the second one with the die cuts from the So Fun die set. I love that sewing machine wafer die. Again, you could have so much fun customizing that, like all the colors, all the things. And then that one with the stenciling and the stamp on the inside. And then the final one with the Notions die set and so much piercing detail. And then, on the inside, I stamped sentiment and added that little thread bobbin, and that was it. So, like I mentioned in the intro, I'll have links to all the things in the description box below, and then a link to my playlist at the very end of the video on the end screen, so you can check that out if you are interested. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting. It helps a ton. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!